My name is John Riley. I'll have your ear only a while. I left my dear home in Ireland. It was death, starvation, or exile. When I got to America, it was my duty to go. Enter the army and slog across Texas to join in the war against Mexico. It was there in the pueblos and hillsides that I saw the mistake I had made. Part of a conquering army with the morals of a bayonet blade. So in the midst of these poor dying Catholics, children screaming, the burning stench of it all, myself and 200 Irishmen decided to come to the call. From Dublin City to Santiago, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. We marched neath the green flag of St. Patrick, emblazoned with Herringo Bra, bright with the harp and the shamrock, and Libertad para la Republica. Just 50 years after World Tone, 5,000 miles away, the Yanks called us a legion of strangers, and they can talk as they may. We fought them in Matamoros, where their volunteers were raping the nuts. In Monterey and Cerro Gordo, we fought on his Ireland sons. We were the red-headed fighters for freedom, amidst these brown-skinned women and men. Side by side we fought against tyranny, and I dare say we do it again. From Dublin City to Santiago, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. We marched neath the green flag of St. Patrick, emblazoned with Eringo Bra, bright with the harp and the shamrock, and Libertad para la Republica. Just 50 years after Wolf Tone, 5,000 miles away, the Yanks called us a legion of strangers, and they can talk as they may. We fought them in 5 major battles. Churubusco was the last. Overwhelmed by the cannons from Boston, we fell after each mortar blast. Most of us died on that hillside in the service of the Mexican state. So far from our occupied homeland, we were heroes and victims of fate. From Dublin City to Santiago, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. Welcome, friends and comrades, workers. Welcome to Anti-Imperialist America. It's a lovely Friday evening, my humble home in rural North Carolina. That song I just butchered on the fly was written by a good comrade of mine, David Rovics. If you want more of his work and it sung better and played, professionally, visit davidrovics.com. You can find his one vinyl record release, all his music, as well as information about his Patreon. David Rovics actually started a a Patreon before Patreon existed. He really is a very talented musician and struggling to make a living as a musician, in the current time period. He invented this idea of community supported art program. Either he invented it or implemented it, one of the two, long before Patreon existed. And you can also check that out as well. Interesting, if you type in 1 hour of American communist music, there's like 4 or 5 songs of David Rovics within that. Hopefully everyone's settling in. If someone could put a test, there we go. We got a test. Reddit Illuminati. Let me welcome. I would watch you on Facebook, but I'm too hot for Facebook for at least 3 more months or 3 more days. Okay, right on. Well, thank you, Red Illuminati. Red Illuminati. I had the pleasure of checking out your videos, and I am very impressed. I'd love to have you on the show sometime or interview you. Please either hit me up on Facebook or send me an email at workingclassrevolt@gmail.com. If somebody on the Facebook could go in there as well, so I can go ahead and test and see if the Facebook comments are working as well. That's weird. There seems to be a delay on the Facebook, like a significant delay. Oh, there it goes. Yep, it seems to all be working now. Shout out to James Graham. Hi, comrades. Please get in the comments if you have a question or discussion. I will go over it. No superset necessary. It will just help the conversation going on. Participation makes this go longer and makes this a better discussion. Even if it's adversarial, even if you're just curious, put it in the comments, YouTube or Facebook. Go for it. That song, St. Patrick's Battalion, is near and dear song to me. First time I heard it, I was up with some comrades up in Boston. And I was up with my comrades up in Boston. And I had some, I was at a house party, after an event. And, that was actually the first night I tried mezcal. Mezcal is the best liquor in the world. And it comes largely from the mountains of Oaxaca, Mexico, where my wife is from, and is absolutely wonderful. First night I tried mezcal. There was a birthday party. We had a good event earlier, and near the end of the night, me and some comrades were sitting around, and we said, "Let's play YouTube roulette." So when it came my turn to come around, I played. I was real. I'm into revolutionary hip hop. And I played Which Side Are You On? By Rebel Diaz. Great stuff. If you ain't down with revolution, what you waiting for? Making money for suckers in our communities poor, ripping flags off a coffin, man. This ain't our war. That's about the only, rap I can do. I memorized the first line of that. I played that song, and there's a good line about the teachers in Oaxaca, good line about Palestina, the original version of of Rebel Diaz's "Which Side Are You On?" Great song. So I played that song, and then this lady, this Raza lady, I'm not sure exactly where she was from, who was married, maybe Mexico, was married to this Irish guy, and she says, "This is a very beautiful song. I'd like to play it." And she played St. Patrick's Battalion for the first time. And I was absolutely blown away. And I've been following and watching David Rovics ever since. And that song actually has a lot, as far as my life and my sentiments and political understanding. St. Patrick's Battalion is very near and dear to my heart. It's also a bit of very good history. It goes along with the theme of the show, socialism with American characteristics. When you think of America, you think of the bloody, brutal empire, and it's true, and genocide and slavery, and it's all true. But there's also a hidden America. Hidden and repressed, those who lived in the territory claimed by North America, both indigenous and immigrant, and those who were forced here as well, who have resisted against tyranny, who have resisted against slavery, who have resisted against injustice. And those are the characteristics of America that will build socialism. And a great example of that is St. Patrick's Battalion. People that were forced fleeing hunger and starvation and tyranny in their own land came to the United States. And it's always the poor that fights the wars. It's always the poor, even to this day. And often these wars are not in their interest. The majority of Confederate soldiers, not majority, like I think it's like 1/4 of the Confederate dead are from the poorest state in the Confederacy, which was North Carolina, my home state. Same with poor black and brown people today, fighting over in Afghanistan, fighting over in Iraq, in helping to colonize the peoples of Africa. That is what the soldiers do. Soldiers build the empire. And it was particularly heinous with the war against Mexico. Not only was it land theft, but it was land theft to get more slave territory, to continue the expansion in the institution and maintain the institution of slavery. So that puts another edge on the song of St. Patrick's Battalion. Not only were these exploited Irish immigrants, not only were they fighting against their own interests, fighting to oppress other people who are also oppressed, fellow Catholics nonetheless, they were fighting to maintain the institution of slavery. And they switched sides. They couldn't stand being part of the aggressor with the morals of a bayonet blade, invading and raping and pillaging, and they switched sides. And they fought against the U.S. Army in the service of the Mexican state. And there is I think there's a parade. I'm not sure exactly where. There's a parade every year commemorating Los San Patrisos in Mexico. The foreign legion, the foreign troops that fought on behalf of Mexico against the U.S. and their imperialist occupation and land theft and maintaining of slavery. And it was really the Mexican War, along with other broken treaties, that really created the occupied territory of Aztlán, which didn't become states until long after when the U.S. made sure that they had sorry, that they had Anglo control of the economic and political system. They did not want territories of mostly brown people and their own land to become part of the United States. This is the same stuff they said against Puerto Rico. So, I mean, it kind of, there's kind of like self-determination. Like if people want to be part of the U.S. and they've been conquered by the U.S., they've been exploited they have every right to be a part of the U.S. and you can't tell them otherwise. And you shouldn't. I'm saying if they want to, that's right to self-determination. But before they were actually adopted, it was like, let's keep them as territories because of racism, outright racism. And when Puerto Rico never became a state, and when the Southwest and Aztlán become states, they made sure they had armies, literally fucking occupying armies and oppressive, like we're talking about, this is the country. This is the country that fought, the first independence, the first anti-colonial struggle against the monarch to establish what was really the beginning of the capitalist revolutions. The American Revolution was before the French Revolution. And this really was a revolution of the capitalist class taking power from the feudal system. This is the country of freedom that had its own colonial possessions, really starting with native territories in the Southwest and Aztlán. That's a really beautiful song. And people can look in that history and check out Comrade David Rovick's his YouTube and his website and his community supported art program. Just a quick note. Tomorrow, a few highlights. Tomorrow on the 22nd, I believe at 5 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to have a comrade who is originally from Mexico but living in Germany, and I believe part of the KPD, the Communist Party in Germany. And that will be on Working Class Revolt. That will be a work meeting. So we're going to have news updates. David Rovex, I think his name's Arturo. He'll be on with us tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. I'll probably announce that later tomorrow. Please, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe on YouTube. Please like Anti-Imperialist America on Facebook. And there's also a Facebook group you can join, Working Class Revolt. That should be good tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. Comrade from it's going to be in 3 different time zones. So it's going to be I believe it's 5 p.m. in the United States, 11 p.m. in Germany, and then 7 a.m. in Australia of the following day. So that's 3 different time zones. We're having that tomorrow. And then on the 22nd, which I'm really, not the 22nd, on the 29th, which I'm really looking forward to, I'm going to be emceeing the Center for Political Innovation Conference on Comrade Caleb Maupin's channel. And we're going to be having a pre-recorded message from Dan Kovalik. Dan Kovalik recently wrote this wonderful book. I've started to read the intro. Canceled this book, The Progressive Case Against Cancel Culture. We're also going to be having David Rovick's talk about cancel culture. He was recently doxxed and called an anti-Semite for supporting the people of Palestine. He's going to be talking about cancel culture as well, and sing his hit song, "I'm a Better Anarchist Than You." It's kind of mocking the anarchist community, in a lighthearted way. And also, we're going to be having fellow Working Class Revolt, previous honored Working Class Revolt guest, leader of Partido Raza Unida, Ernesto Ayala, and his struggles with Telejaguar. Telejaguar was initially formed because the woke Latinx, they call them wokosos. Wokosos, basically people who have adopted this new synthetic left ideology to never challenge neoliberalism, but simply tear down and perform cultural wars. And the long-standing tradition of Chicano liberation and Chicano nationalism and Partido Raza Unida's political orientation is called scientific socialism, Chicano nationalism. They call it Aslan, they call themselves Chicano, and they call the larger diaspora Raza. And these are revolutionary terms going back into the 70s. Well, come 2010, Ernesto's getting canceled. He said, Aslan is Mexican hegemony. You're trying to impose that on us. So I'm really looking forward to that. And he's a great contact of mine. I've known him for over a decade. I'm really looking forward to the CPI conference. And I believe that's going to be, I'll find out tomorrow. I believe there will be a meeting. But I believe that's going to be 7 o'clock. I don't know if a time has been announced. 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern, the 29th on Caleb Maupin's channel. And I will be chairing as well and giving a brief presentation. I'm really looking forward to that. So I guess after we got some announcements, I talked about St. Patrick's Battalion. I want to talk about, why that song means so much to me. And it kind of gets along with the theme, socialism with American characteristics. And if I can just give my experience of someone who is in the land occupied by the institution of the United States, which is commonly referred to as America. And there's various settings. I know some people try to say there are more, some people are less. Definitely indigenous people should be respected, and the land should be respected. Self-determination should be respected. But there's various working class communities from all over the world that really, the United States was really the heart of capitalism. And capitalism, like anything, is society and evolves. And what makes things good in society is the workers and exploited. All wealth and all beauty and all art comes from the workers. And it's horrible what the United States has done all over the world to push people here. I mean, it might not, that is the case now, but I mean, it really wasn't the case in, you look back early in the U.S. history. The U.S., had successfully fought a capitalist revolution. Mind you, there was slaves and genocide, all kinds of, but, a lot of Europe was still in feudalism. The French Revolution didn't take place until, some years later. But all I can really say is my own experience of being a worker in the United States. A little bit about my story. So I started off with this photograph. And I actually did a countdown and a photograph. I figured I'll do a countdown and I'll show a photograph. So I can go ahead and share it out to a few places. Share this stream out to a good few contacts. So I have this picture right here, which I started the show with. This is a little bit further into my backstory. And my story is a worker in, from the United States, which is commonly referred to as America. I'm not saying I'm any more American, any less. I'm just saying this is my story. And this here is the two people hugging are my mom and dad. My mom and dad, my aunt, and my uncle. My mom's little sister, my mom's older brother. I'm not sure who the guy in the middle is with the big hat. I'm guessing that's one of their bandmates back in the day. This was before I was born. Long before I was born. And they sang country gold, the old country music, working class music, stuff you hear on Willie Nelson's Roadhouse, satellite radio. I got satellite radio in the truck, and I still listen to Willie Nelson's satellite radio. They kind of pissed me off today because, okay, they play country gold on Willie Nelson's Roadhouse on satellite radio. And they put a goddamn Eagles song on there. Fuck the Eagles. I don't want to hear some goddamn Eagles on a traditional country music station. Stop doing that. All right, just had to get that off my chest. So I get a little bit of that. That's kind of my background. My mom sang country music. We grew up hard. It was up in the hills, but honestly, upstate New York was like middle of nowhere country. The nearest damn store, 50 miles. My grandpa worked in the same factory for 40 years. Retired. He was a mechanic. And from that, back when the U.S. was like, the pinnacle of the imperialism, he was able, just off the regular factory job, was able to buy a house for his family. Later on, he was able to buy, 10 acres and a few horses. Honestly, he was a mean drunk most of his life. Love him to death. I see him. He got some good racist jokes. At least what I've heard. But every time I saw him, I love him. Yes, exactly. Old Gringo. Eagles don't belong on country radio. All right. So I'm going to show you that picture. And then kind of came down. I was stayed up in upstate New York. I was about 5 years old. He came down here to rural North Carolina. And shit, North Carolina is pretty damn poor. and we were fleeing worse poverty. And we were some of the poorest people in the county. We received the first, we lived, there was six of us, there was an family of 8 and a 2-bedroom trailer down a mile long dirt road. Let me show another picture before we move down here. Here's me in upstate New York. Just smiling. I look kind of like my son Sherman. And that's the last house we lived in before we moved down here. The picture's fucked up. It looks like there's some kind of blanket or not. My damn brother left the whole bin of pictures, our whole family photo album. He was remodeling the storage shed to make a coffee business. And he left a whole family album, and the majority of our family albums got destroyed. I was going back, and he left them out in the rain. My brother, he grew up hard too, and he, a little neurotic, and he didn't really watch what he was doing. He's having some issues, God bless him. And he left the photo up. So that little bit of color right there is really just damage to the pictograph. I'm actually in a little tub taking a bath. Look behind me. There is no sheetrock on the wall. There's like boards up there. There is no insulation in this house. You got this little he looks like he's trying to fix a little bit, and that is a wood stove. People don't know that thing's hungry. You got to feed it with wood. You got to chop the wood. You got to stick the wood in there, or you freeze to fucking death. There's me taking a bath in front of the wood stove as a kid in upstate New York. We get down here with some of the poorest people in the county. Hide. All right, cool. So I didn't really get along with this. It's interesting. So my mom and dad, they played country music, like good old country music, Hank Williams, stuff like that. And then I get down here and I listen to this pop country bullshit. Maybe it was better in the 90s, but in the 2000s, the pop country bullshit, I completely rejected country music. It was complete and other shit. I didn't get back into alternative, underground, and traditional country music into my adulthood. I don't know why I'm having trouble viewing these pictures I'm trying to show y'all. There we go. So I showed you that. I can go ahead and delete that one and delete that one. All right, cool. So I didn't really get along with a lot of the people who, were actually poor. To a lot of folks, to a lot of folks, people in North Carolina aren't well off. But we were even worse off than that. To be honest with you, I didn't really fit in with the, Dixie shirt wearing folks. You got these redneck name brands that cost a fucking ton. You got people riding around with these jacked up trucks that their mama bought them, and it's fucking stupid. I mean, there's some good down home poor folks like us, but some of this, like, labor aristocracy, beginnings of labor aristocracy, pop country bullshit really pisses me to fuck off. just putting that out there. So, needless to say, I got along a lot better. I think my whole social group in like 3rd or 4th grade was like all black folks. I remember this one time where, it was the 90s. Wrestling was real big. And there was one of the favorite wrestlers was The Rock. And The Rock would, we'd be acting like we were wrestlers and we were tough and stuff. We say, "Oh, we're in a gang." I think it was 3 of us, me and 2 young folks, 2 young African American folks. That was kind of the crew I rolled when I was like 4th grade. We talked about wrestling and shit. And then there was one funny joke. It was like, I think it was like, "I'm gonna beat your marshmallow ass." Sorry, Dustin. No offense, Dustin. Oh, no, good times. Anyways, it got in high school, and right around the same time we came down here from upstate New York was 1995. You went past in 1994, NAFTA. NAFTA was passed by Bill Clinton. NAFTA destroyed the entire corn belt in Mexico. Tiracali, Oaxaca, Guerrero, Michoacan. It destroyed the entire southern corn belt. Needless to say, it's interesting. Southern Mexico, which honestly they had the first agrarian. I would argue that Mexico had the first agrarian socialist revolution. I know they say on a large scale the Russian Revolution was the biggest. Well, there's at least a lot of socialist elements in the Mexican Revolution and Zapata, and to this day, there is plots of land that the people own. You know, that the privatizers and all these people haven't took out. I went down there, and there's little towns. There ain't nobody down there. There ain't no goddamn road. Dirt road for miles. Dirt little town, little pueblo. You know, people on top of each other. You know, horrible conditions. And they still have the family plots of land and grow corn that were won in the revolution, and stories going back to the revolution. But you know what hurt the land plots and these farmers who won that land in the Mexican Revolution was NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement. North American Free Trade Agreement plunged southern Mexico into absolute poverty. And there was a mass flood of migrants from Mexico around 1994. This is the same time the mayors in the big cities on the border put up a fence, put up a wall long before Trump came into office. And it also, believe it or not, the NAFTA helped the larger farms take over the smaller farms in rural America. It was the beginning of the corporatization of agriculture, which destroyed many small towns. And North Carolina was booming at the time. So our family moved down to North Carolina. At the same time, a lot of Mexican immigrants came up from southern Mexico. So in high school, a lot of my friends were from Mexico. And my family was kind of chaotic and trashed and fucked up in a lot of ways. And most of my family members, we'd run off to be with our friends because it's a lot better than being home. Here, so here is me with my friends in hanging out in the trailer park. This is one Christmas. I had really, really long hair. I had my friend, and that was her nieces and nephews. That was a Christmas. See the bright colors from Mexico. We decorated the trailers like it was Mexico. And I learned to speak Spanish. And check it out. Remember I showed you that picture of so remember I showed you that picture of my family, and they had a country and western band. Well, guess what? This man, I used to roadie for him, and they played a mixed electronic twist on traditional Mexican country music. That's really the only type of music I learned to dance to. They didn't have. I don't know what fucking happened. They didn't have, like, up in the hills. I think my uncle still plays in his band, and they got actual local country bands that play, at least for the old folks. But honestly, that has kind of been lost in U.S. culture. 90s, it was kind of like you had this like a local rock band scene, but it was not the same as the old folk music that everyone likes. It's kind of like compartmentalized with different age groups. And I think the Mexican country music really brings the whole family together. You go to a party, you got a live Mexican band playing traditional country music. You'll have kids there, old folks there, people of different cultural subgroups, people who dress like cholos or, more urban wear, along with people in the cowboy hats and the boots. And I got my own set of them still. both an influence from my parents' side and my friends from Mexico, wear the cowboy hat and the boot. That, that all started from Mexican culture. That was a cultural appropriation of the United States and the culture of what people have been doing in the Southwest for a long time before it was stolen and appropriated. There's actually a song by Los Tigres del Norte, one of my favorite groups, which I believe was based out of Los Angeles. I'm not sure. And I've seen them twice with my wife. I love Los Tigres del Norte. And they do this song called Somos Más Americanos. And the song Somos Más Americanos is basically Indios de dos continentes, indigenous people from two continents. We are more American than all the children of the Anglo-Saxons, is a line. And they stole 8 states. Nevada, Texas. There's actually if you look up Los Tigres del Norte, actually sings with a dude from Rage Against the Machine. I think it's Tigres del Norte and Friends, MTV Unplugged, and they sing with a dude from Rage Against the Machine. And he gets to, in country music and in Mexican country music, you got the stand-up bass. And he gets up on the stand-up bass and goes, bum, 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 bum. They start out, and then they do it's a beautiful video. If anyone wants to look up, and he listened to the song Somos Más Americanos by Los Tigres del Norte. And that kind of really opened my eyes up to, the cowboy culture and how it really has roots in Mexican culture and how it has kind of took off. And, the whole lie, you think about the settler cowboy, the majority of cowboys and cattle ranchers, that was a hard fucking job. John Wayne is a fucking lie. The majority of actual cowboys were black and Mexican or black and indigenous. White people were a majority in those jobs. So the whole movie set white boy cowboy bullshit is a historical lie. It was a much more mixed group of folks, and I'm talking about the entire culture and what actually is, not the Hollywood version. What is the United States? What is it? And it is a multinational, multicultural place of the workers have built, and different cultures and art has been produced here. And I think socialism with American characteristics coming from socialism with Chinese characteristics. I'll go ahead and talk about that. Socialism with Chinese characteristics is Xi Jinping in recent years and others have looked back on the traditional roots and culture of China. They've looked into Confucius. They've looked into the old Silk Road and their new trade policy of win-win trade and helping out their neighbors is called the Belt and Road Initiative. They're calling it the New Silk Road. And they have incorporated different aspects of Confucius in their religion. I mean, not in their government and his speeches, and he's really attaching and taking the culture and of the people and the history of the people and forming a socialist society. Well, what does that look like in the United States? What is socialism with American characteristics? And I think it is multinational, multicultural. This is a vast landmass. And it's whatever does happen will be the result of the dissatisfied people who historically have been, from the oppressed nations from within, but others as well. As far as, let me go ahead and hide my friend here. The man behind me, John Brown, and all, and then it'll come from the spirit of resistance, those who fought for good and those who fought for truth. I often talk about the Wilmington riot or the Wilmington coup. It's better called. In North Carolina, they had a fusion party. The fusion party was recently freed slaves, African Americans, radical Republicans who teamed up and created a fusion party with poor whites, sharecroppers, and the like to form a fusion party. And they took power. They put the old slave party of the time, the Democrats. I don't think it's really stopped being that, to be honest with you. But that's a whole nother story. They act like they switched, but they kind of just switched culturally and not actually the people. Like, they don't actually represent the people. They're still the same city business owning motherfuckers. Anyways, they got rid of the Dixiecrats, and the Dixiecrats joined the Republicans, but, it is what it is. Anyways, the old slave owning folks, there's people that own slaves still own the fucking factories to this day. I'm getting back into it. They actually took power. Poor white folks and freed slaves joined parties. Both the Populist Party and the Radical Republican Party at the time joined forces and took power in Wilmington, North Carolina. And then the Democratic forces hired up some good old boys, some reactionary racists, some crackers. Cracker means, it's a racial term for literally the people that would crack the whip on the slaves, reactionaries, to act as fascists. These were fascists. And to perform a coup d'etat and take a democratically elected government out of power in Wilmington, North Carolina, soon after the Civil War and soon after the period of Reconstruction. And there was a little battle like this. This ain't just North Carolina. This was battles all over the country. After the Civil War, and then after the Union troops left, and then both the black Republican governments that were elected, fusion parties in North Carolina, there was actual fierce pitched battles in state capitals between the forces of reaction and the forces of equality and progress throughout the South. Many wars and coups throughout the South. It's not unique to North Carolina. But the people that fought, the black and white folks that got together and formed a new government of equality in Wilmington, North Carolina in the late 1800s, that is where socialism with American characteristics will come about. John Brown is where socialism with American characteristics will come about. The long history of resistance against tyranny. I digress. I continue. Yeah. So, believe it or not, I was actually really religious when I was in high school. I wanted to be a preacher. And then I learned that most of the churches are supporting the war. And then I went around with this notice called All. And it was basically, when I was an anarchist at the time, I put the anarchist symbol ALL. Basically saying, and the teachings of Jesus say that we should love and respect all people as our brother. Sermon on the Mount. The meek shall inherit the earth. We should not be involved. This was in the Bush time period. We should not be involved in these wars. And the churches that are supporting these wars are haram, an Islamic tradition. Haram, are against the teachings of Jesus, are against God, and are blaspheming. Had an understanding as a 14-year-old. I did counter recruitment when I was 17. I started as an anti-war activist in high school. Maybe a bit of my Quaker roots. Maybe my dad was a bit of a free spirit. You put it together, and that's how I came about in this. And I wanted to be a preacher, and I had this kind of ideas of pacifist Christianity, or Christian pacifism, Christian anarchism kind of ideas I got into. I just know that all these little southern churches around here with the little pray it, kneel at the cross, stand for the flag bullshit, while that imagery of the United States is, being used to perpetuate these wars, and kill all these people in all these other countries, that's some fucked up bullshit. So I went and I put my little all manifesto on all the churches. I taped it. I remember Martin Luther, the great reformist. And Martin Luther put his 99 thesis with, I think, on a sheep skin with a nail and sheep blood and nailed that shit up on the door. Well, I went around to every church in my small town. And I put a manifesto called All saying you shouldn't be supporting these goddamn wars. A little bit nicer than I said it like that, but that's what I did. Next, I was this little 14-year-old kid, long ass hair, looked like a hippie motherfucker. And then, these, you better, I put my phone number on that manifesto. I put my address. I said, come talk to me. Do you know how much feedback I got from the churches? None. Nobody wanted to talk to me. Nobody wanted to read that. No, I actually had the cops called on me. Cops came to my house. They said, you're not allowed to trespass on the church's property. You need to mail things. You can't go around taping up shit on churches' doors. I didn't get arrested. I didn't get in trouble, but I had a fierce talking to by the local sheriff department. You better believe. And then when I got into college, I hit up the civil rights city of Greensboro. I really wanted to go to an anti-war protest. I finally found an anti-war protest vigil. And I met some great comrades and friends. I got introduced to the community, met civil rights leaders, met union leaders. And from this community, I was taught socialism. And not some Marxiste Trotsky bullshit. The real shit. This was required reading material. The foundations of Leninism. And it took me a while to I had the same idea as a lot of folks around here. You can't tell me what to do. The government can't tell me what to do. I'm a free American. and they're like, okay, you're against the wars. The U.S. is destroying all these countries and imperialism, and read this. And I'm like, holy fuck. Shit. Oh my God. You're right. Shit. And they were doing such great work and it was so beautiful. I'm like, shit, I'm a communist now. Fuck it. But it wasn't the fucking ISO fucking technocrat academic motherfuckers that got me into socialism. They fucking made me turn the other way and run. And you can see these synthetic left motherfuckers ain't gonna get people like myself and my background to come to the cause. It's going to be real motherfuckers like those who followed their traditions going back to 1940s and 50s and fought in the working place and didn't cancel motherfuckers and tell people, oh, you ain't like this, you ain't like that, you ain't in a fucking club. Actually reach out to you and talk to you like a goddamn human being. That's what's going to get people involved in socialism. So I'm really happy to be hosting this conference. Maybe I'll take a little bit of this speech. I'm kind of practicing. This speech is kind of a practice, a longer practice run. Maybe I'll take certain sections of this and I'll have a pretty fiery, brief speech for the conference, for the webinar coming up on the 29th. I think that was I'll rewatch that and I'll write down some stuff. That will be my basis for the small speech I give with Dan Kavolik and David Rovics, and Ernesto is going to be on. Well, this right here. Beautiful stuff. Let me do my introductory remarks, and then I'll go through the chats. I will go, please talk in the chat. I will address every chat. Please get active in the conversation, and please stick around. Stick around as long as you can. I will address your chat. If you put in the chat, I will talk about it. I'll go for a while. I've already been on here for an hour. I can go on till midnight. Why not? Probably got a lot of West Coast folks on right now. All right. You know what? That's about it on that. I actually wanted to sing another song. Somebody mentioned Merle Haggard earlier. And I want to, you know, I'm a big some positive elements, really positive elements of his music and expression of the working class, at least a section of the working class in the United States. And that's something that people just can't figure out. This whole cancel culture bullshit is it's either one way or another. It's dualistic thinking. You can't have good and bad. You can't have horribly good and horribly bad qualities in the same person or the same group. Because it has anything little bad that will piss anybody off. You got to cancel that shit, cut that shit out, actually trying to understand it, and then build an environment for that person to grow and develop and become a bigger person. Can't go around canceling motherfuckers. And I think Merle Haggard and, you know, American culture, U.S. culture, you know, heavily dominated by Anglo culture. You know, there's plenty of other, you know, culture here, indigenous culture, Chicano culture, African American culture. But, you know, a lot of Anglo culture really is, you know, has both really positive elements of, you know, being oppressed and being working class and the struggle with these reactionary racist tendencies all at the same time. All at the same time. And you got to understand it. And I think what you got to do is you got to feed the good, suppress the bad, not cancel the whole fucking person. Just, you know, I love the working class. I made a speech. Look me up. I made a speech early on called "Patient Love for the Working Class," and, you know, I think and condemnation for the imperialist. You know, if you're okay with Biden, but you're going to cancel your lukewarm Trump backing neighbor, fuck you. Fuck you. Bernie Sanders is a goddamn imperialist. Bernie Sanders is part of the system that funds Israel and destroys and kills and mass murders the Palestinians. Bernie Sanders backed Biden. Bernie Sanders voted for all these fucking voters. Bernie Sanders backed the bombing in Yugoslavia. And then he puts on this face like he's cool with us. He's a goddamn sheepdog. He acts like he's cool with us. He acts like he wants health care for the people. He never actually gets it. Whenever there's a chance to get anything, he caves the fuck out of it. Bernie Sanders is an imperialist sheepdog. So you're going to like Bernie Sanders more than the person who works on the line beside you, exploited in the same same job, same conditions, comes from the same neighborhood. You're going to cancel that person, but you're going to love fucking Bernie Sanders and any of these fucking liberals and all these bullshit other politicians? Give me a goddamn break. So I'll get into it. Third and shit, I'll get in that comment later. Red Illuminati. I might as well just I'll get back to everybody's comment. Don't worry about it. Theodore Roosevelt was more progressive than Bernie Sanders, and that's not a good thing to say. Hell yeah, Roosevelt saved capitalism. Roosevelt did what he did because there was a mass communist party pushing him to do it, and there was competition with the Soviet Union. Stalin. That motherfucker raised conditions for here. And if every person truly knew the history and what we got, where it came from, and the people that fought for it, they would love and praise. There'd be a picture of Stalin on everybody's fucking wall in the United States. Goddamn trots. Okay, I'm gonna sing y'all a Merle Haggard song, and I'm gonna analyze it. That's the next section. I go around, I see these jacked up pickup trucks. You know, I'm a humble dude. I'm a humble old style country dude. I got to pick up a Silverado 2001 and it's beat up. Got a cassette player and a CD player. And I play, you know, different types of music. I listen to cassette tapes. I ain't going to jack the shit up. I ain't going to put that stupid ass fucking flashy rims up. I don't understand that shit. But I saw this kind of jacked up truck the other day. And it got this logo, said Mama Tried. Mama Tried is an old country song by Merle Haggard. And I didn't practice it very well, but I wanted to analyze that song. I think it has both the positive and negative elements that I was talking about. All right, forgive me. I practiced the other one a little better and I still fucked that one up. I'm going to go ahead and try this one. The first thing I remember knowing was a lonesome whistle blowing and a youngin's dream of growing up to ride on a freight train leaving town, not knowing where I'm bound, and no one could change my mind, but mama tried. One and only rebel child from a family meek and mild, mama seemed to know what lay in store. Despite my Sunday learning, towards the bad I kept on turning, till mama couldn't hold me anymore. And I turned 21 in prison, doing life without parole. No one could steer me right, but mama tried, mama tried, mama tried to raise me better. But her pleading 99, that leaves only me, 'cause mama tried. Dear old daddy, rest his soul, left my mom a heavy load. She tried so very hard to fill his shoes, working hours without rest, wanted me to have the best. She tried to raise me right, but I refused. And I turned 21 in prison, doing life without parole. No one could steer me right, but mama tried, mama tried, mama tried to raise me better. But at pleading 99, that leaves only me to blame, 'cause mama tried. A lot of people love that song. I'm going to get down to the positive and negative elements in that song. Okay. The negative element of this song is rather obvious. Well, it's both. It's almost like a double-edged sword. Both the positive. So what he's saying is, it's almost this idea of individual self-responsibility and reliance. Now, if you're trying to build a socialist system and you want people to work together to help the whole, this kind of individualness and it's all me, it's all my fault, I'm responsible for my own actions, I do my best, if I don't have a good enough job, it's my own goddamn fault. There's a negative edge to it. But at the same time, the go out and get them, hard work, care about what you do, define yourself as a person, grit, get her done kind of personality and work ethic and idea is absolutely what we need in socialism. We need to work together collectively, take pride in what we do, believe in what we do, take pride in our work, and build together in unison the necessary resources we need as a collective and a society. And I think that hard individualist, responsibility-oriented work ethic will be positive for building socialism. And it ain't just an Anglo culture. It's been, various immigrants. It's in the African American community. That whole bullshit about how, about the lazy African American welfare, that's all fucking bullshit. You look at people that stood up straight for their families and worked hard and overcame adversity. This work ethic ain't just an Anglo culture, it's African American culture, and it's especially in Rasa and Chicano and culture to this day. From the construction industry down to the fields, into the chicken plants where I worked as a kid, when I worked right out of high school, right out of 18. My first job was in the chicken plant. Mostly undocumented folks there. There was actually union folks came in the neighborhood, and we got a class action lawsuit, and that kind of introduced me into the labor movement. When I was young. So double-edged sword, individualist. It's all me. If I fuck up, it's my fault. Kind of bullshit. It's like worker. We start blaming ourselves because Wall Street fucking tanked the economy. There's not shit we can do about it. But at the same time, the grit, the go get 'em, the hard work, This shit is absolutely necessary. Building socialism is a hard goddamn fucking task. And we're going to have to work with fuckers we don't want to have to work with. We're going to have to build up power. We're going to have stress. We're going to be attacked. We're going to be badass motherfuckers. Wait a minute. Wait up.
Never mind, ocupo la de la cocina.
So back to what I was saying. Let me get the video back here. Hopefully y'all still with me. Y'all still with me. Let me hook that camera back up and I'll be with y'all. There we go. So I'm saying it to build communism, we're going to need work ethic. We're going to need dedication. We're not going to just turn around. We're going to need more than a surface level analysis. We're going to need that get her done attitude. And you see it. You see it in this culture. You do not see that shit in the fucking synthetic left. You don't see it in the synthetic left. We're going to need it though. All right. So he says, you know, it's like mama tried. So it's like, I'm the reason why I'm fucked up. When in reality, you know, people who come from broken homes are more likely to get into drugs. But then you got the strength to overcome that. So, I mean, it's both. You need to be able to analyze correctly, analyze the societies, and analyze the conditions and analyze what actually happens. And then you need to fight for your own conditions there. You need to try to work as hard as you can to survive, and then take a little bit on top of that, and then build an organization that can reshape society so people can be better cultivated and live in better environments and become better people and build a better society. And this takes hard work, dedication. You not only have to work as hard as you can to survive and provide for your own family, but then work and form collectives and build power, study and try to understand and then build this. And it's going to be trial and error, and it's fucking hard. It's hard fucking work. Socialism is hard fucking work. That's what it is. And we need the workers, the actual fucking workers to get on our side, and not these fucking bougie ass fucking collectives and these trot groups, these goddamn colleges. We need to sacrifice as a collective. Have hard work ethic as a collective. And you know what? Do you know who agreed with me that this was a positive element of the working class? Stalin. I'm going to read you the last chapter of I'm going to read you the last chapter of the Foundations of Leninism. It's the shortest chapter in there. It's called Style and Work. I am not referring to literary style. What I have in mind in style and work, that specific and particular feature, and the practice of Leninism, which creates this special type of Leninist worker. Leninism is a school of theory and practice, which trains a special type of party and state worker, creates a special Leninist style and work. What are the characteristic features of this style? What are its particularities? It has two specific features. Russian revolutionary sweep, and B, American efficiency. B, American efficiency. The style of Leninism consists in combining these two specific features in party and state work. Russian revolutionary sweep is an antidote to inertia, routine, conservatism, mental stagnation, Slavic submission to ancient traditions. Russian revolutionary sweep is the life-giving force which stimulates thought, impels things forward, breaks the past, and opens up perspectives. Without it, no progress is possible. But Russian revolutionary sweep has every chance of degenerating into practice into empty revolutionary Manolvism if it is not combined with American efficiency and work. Examples of this generations are only too numerous. Who does not know the disease of revolutionary scheme, concocting revolutionary plan drafting, which springs from belief in the power of degrees to arrange everything and remake everything? A Russian writer, one Engberg, in his story, The the perfect communist man, has portrayed the type of Bolshevik afflicted with this disease, who set himself the task of finding formula for the ideally perfect man, and became submerged in his work. The story contains a great exaggeration, but it certainly gives a correct likeness of the disease. But no one I could think of so ruthlessly and bitter ridicules those afflictions with this disease as Lenin. Lenin stigmatized this morbid belief in concocting schemes and in turning out degrees as communist vainglory. Communist vainglory, says Lenin, means that a man who is a member of the Communist Party has not yet been purged from it, imagines that he can solve all his problems by issuing communist decrees. Lenin usually contrasted hollow revolutionary phrasemongering with plain everyday work, thus emphasizing that revolutionary scheme concocting is repugnant to the spirit and the letter of true Leninism. Fewer pompous phrases, more plain, everyday work, says Lenin. Less political fireworks, more attention to the simplest but vital facts of communist construction. American efficiency, on the other hand, is an antidote to revolutionary malevolism and fantastic scheme concocting. American efficiency is that indominant force which neither knows nor reconciles obstacles, which continues at a task once started until finished. Even it is a minor task without which serious constructive work is inconceivable. But American efficiency has every chance of degenerating into narrow, unprincipled pragmatism if it is not combined with Russian revolutionary sweep. Who has not heard of what disease of narrow empiricalism and unprincipled practicalism, which has not infrequently caused certain Bolsheviks to degenerate and abandon the cause of revolution? We find a reflection of this particular disease in the story of B. Pilnank, entitled The Barren Year, which depicts types of Russian Bolsheviks of strong will and tactical determination who function very energetically, but without vision, without knowing what it's all about, and who therefore stray from the path of revolutionary work. No one has guided this disease of practicalism so incessantly as Lenin. He branded it as narrow-minded empiricism and brainless practicalism. He usually contrasted it with vital revolutionary work and necessity of having a revolutionary perspective in all our daily activities. Thus emphasized that unprincipled practicism is as repugnant to true Leninism as revolutionary scheme concocting. The combination of Russian revolutionary sweep with American efficiency is the essence of Leninism in party and state work. The combination alone provides the finished type of Leninist worker in the style of Leninism in work. So essentially, American efficiency is get her done mentality. Get her done mentality, which Stalin saw something in, and it really was the United States. When Trump says "Make America Great Again," the U.S. really was something that people looked up to as not. It was as imperialist, segregation, a genocide, all these horrible, disgusting things. But at the same time, there was a lot of beautiful things in the United States created by workers, stolen from the global south, stolen from people here. But the U.S. was really the leader in innovation and technology and even culture and music and jazz and rock and roll for a long time period. that kind of went, and a lot of it was soft power, but a lot of it was really the beauty and the art and expression of the working class of the United States. And there's wonderful and positive revolutionary things in that. And you can take feed the positive, respect oppressed nations, respect indigenous people, give self-determination. But how the hell are we going to build socialism in the United States if we don't take what we got and use it and build it for a better future? This fucking pessimist bullshit that, we can never do this, we can never do that, the planet's going to be destroyed before we fucking do anything, is a goddamn hack job the elites have put on your brain to stop you from being a revolutionary. I need you to be a revolutionary. I need you to find good things in your family, good things in your community, build power, and build goddamn fucking socialism. File the fucking papers. I think that's going to do it for my introductory remarks. That was quite a bit of a speech. Sorry for the interruption. I'm going to go. I know some of y'all no longer with me, but I'm going to go through these chats right quick. Old Gringo, hola compañeros. We got Orange Duke, Traya, sup yo. Old Gringo. Oh yeah, San Patricio. Descendants in Mexico still have a parade on St. Patrick's Day. It's absolutely beautiful. Beautiful song by David Rovics. Beautiful bit of history. Orange Duke, the Coop. Man, I fucking love the Coop. Some good shit, man. Caleb Moppin in the house. Welcome, comrade. That's where on his channel we're gonna have the cancel this conference. I don't know what they came up with it, but that was up in the ideas. Cancel this conference webinar against cancel culture. It's going to be on the 29th, 7 o'clock Eastern on Caleb Moppin's channel. Here you go. Matthew, the socialist history of the United States was real. Even International Workers' Day has American roots because it commemorated the Haymarket martyrs. Of course, red baiting Grover Cleaver changed Labor Day to the end of September. That's absolutely right. May 1st, International Workers' Day, adopted by the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union and Stalin had respect for the American worker. You know who doesn't have respect for the American worker? Of any color, hue, oppressed nationality here. You know who doesn't respect us? The goddamn elite who fucking wave that fucking flag and tell us to go kill other fucking poor black and brown people. That's who ain't got respect for us. Stalin did. And the socialists of the world do. There's no reason to hate our brothers and sisters that are building political and economic power for poor black and brown people from Nicaragua to Venezuela to China to Iran. These are our allies in the fight against the imperialist system. And both contradictions, national oppression and class oppression, are material realities that will create dissatisfied people. It is up to us as revolutionaries to train them and teach them and organize them to build a significant and effective power to be able to go against the state. Or at the very least, be able to build dual power until this fucking piece of shit empire collapses on itself. And instead of mass starvation and chaos, this dual power can take power. I called it Pick Me Up on Your Way Down, Revolutionary Theory. I think that's a video y'all can go back and check out. All right, a lot of saying hi. James Grand. A small kid just asked me at the shops, whose side are you on? Celtic, I said. Yeah, he said. Phew. Got to live, fight another day. Right on, brother. Can you leave? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Aromax. If you want to, I'm not sure what time period that was said. If you want to get back in the question, tell me what you're talking about. I'll be glad to leave you a link. James Grant. Yeah, Dan Kovalik. Dan Kovalik is great. He begins this book with a quote from Lenin. He also wrote, I ain't got a book, this book, No More Wars, which really tears Obama apart for going into Libya. One of the worst war crimes that's been committed in recent years. Really tears a shred the synthetic left narrative that we need to attack the largely apolitical, socially conservative rural workers and go, we need to attack them, but leave Bernie Sanders alone and leave the liberals alone. Because if we don't leave the liberals alone, the Republicans will come to power, and the Republicans and the Democrats are doing the same damn shit. And Dan Kovalik really well documents the absolute disgusting and deceptiveness of Obama as a war criminal. Cindy Sheehan's The Obama Deception is a really good book too. I'd hold that up. East Coast, West Coast, two nations. Yeah, there's something said about. We lost a lot of pictures too from the 1800s. There we go, old gringo. My grandparents were from the South, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas. Yep, Merle Haggard. I did you a Merle Haggard song. I hate New Country. Yep. Red and Nami. Hank 3 is better than Hank Jr., but Hank Sr. is the best out of all of them. 70s and 60s. I go back to 40s and 50s, comrade. Yeah, that's an interesting. It was actually the corn, which Gorbachev was obsessed with. That almost all fucking sweetener is made out of. Just took and it's like they took the one thing that's disgusting and addictive in corn in the United States. It's nutritious, it's fiber. They took the one thing that's unhealthy and they high fructose and stuck that shit in everything. But it's really amazing the level of science and botany and agricultural science that the indigenous people of Mexico took what was simply a grass and cultivated this beautiful efficient energy producing plant that is extremely healthy. I eat tortillas and I love it. It's beautiful what people have done. Yes, NAFTA was horrible. Yeah, cross-generational. We're losing that as a society as we allow these media conglomerates and for-profit institutions to tear apart our communities. I mean, one of the last places you see a cross-generational community in our society is the church. And I think we can have cross-generational socialist groups with youth groups. Why not? Yeah. Socialist Z, Tigres del Norte, had a beautiful film. They actually sung Johnny Cash's Folsom Prison Blues in Spanish at Folsom Prison. That was beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful. Exactly, just like Johnny Cash. Okay. R.B. Cunningham Grant, a dissident aristocrat, here formed the UK Labour Party, but he was a rancher in South America. He was big on Latinos culture. That's interesting, comrade. Here we go. Chilanga. I was brought to the States as a kid. Born here all my life. Tired of it. Wish I could go back home to Mexico, but it's too unsafe. Yeah, and you know what? It's the goddamn U.S. banks that are laundering the money for the cartels and making the money off the drugs, and they want the drugs here. They want to destroy and kill the people in Mexico. They keep them subservient, keep the fucking banks and the imperialists love it. Love the fucking drug trade. They love to see Mexico kept in violence and poverty, and they love to see drugs to be sold in Appalachia. They love to see drugs sold in the black community and sold in the Chicano community for working class people to destroy themselves. They love that shit. And they're the ones profiting off of it. We're the ones pushing it. We come about and we have socialist revolution. We'll be doing just like the groups in Mexico, mostly Mexican women in southern Mexico have been forming local militias to fight against the goddamn drug dealers. That is what we need to do under socialism. Drugs are not welcome in our community. Drugs destroy lives. And that is a common working class. Everybody in a working class community has somebody that suffered from fucking drugs. We need to kick that shit out and stop that and exile that shit from our community, be able to become sober and build ourselves up, build a community and enjoy life and build a better world and society. The left is dead. The alt left. Well, I'm not so pessimistic, Comrade Red. I think yourself and us, we're doing what we can. We're going to get this shit done. I am optimistic about the future. I see another person from rural area, from the hood, from the holler, learning about socialism and communism this day, and it warms my heart. I meet a new communist every day from a similar or different background. The only true left can cancel culture. We also need to cancel imperialism. There's my wife. She says, go to sleep. I'll get there, bit beautiful. All right. Well, we're going to finish these questions up and we'll call it a night. Anybody want to get into questions? I'm slowly getting around to them. Yeah, y'all liked my singing. That was good. I enjoy doing that as well. Cesar Chavez. We're going to pay a little and work a lot. Socialist Z. The funny thing, though, is that conservatives preach individualism, but are more community-centered than liberal. That is interesting. That's very true. Like a lot of liberals, they do their yoga classes, very consumeristic. They get into this, but conservatives actually do have this form of community, which is their churches and their groups. And there's different consumer cultures and but community is absolutely necessary to socialism. We need to build community as socialists. We need to strengthen each other, lift each other up. This is why we're so detached and alienated from each other, and it benefits the capitalist society. James Graham. There's two angles. One lot is greedy individual, the takers. The working class individual is expected to self-sacrifice, the givers. Right on. We need to be givers and sharers and a new future together. It's going to be hard uphill battle, but we got to do it. We got to address it. We got to work on our politics. We got to talk to folks, get out there and do everything we can. Shout out to Shar Darling, friend of the Center for Political Innovation. Singer's Sewing Machines has a huge factory. And Clydebank, we lived and breathed and bred in the United States. Okay, that's cool. Bang 4, you say some stuff that's interesting. I'll get it out there. I ain't going to kick you off, but you say some pretty interesting stuff. Red Illuminati. If he's going that far back, he's probably familiar with Uncle David McCoon. Okay. I think that's it. As always, old gringo from the hood and the holler. We both trying to make $1. From the hood to the holler, we're both trying to make $1. Right on. Tell your friends, neighbors, and coworkers about socialism. As always, all power to the people.